Hello and welcome to Capital Connection with me, KAMRAN YOUSAF. It is a show where we discuss issues that dominate Pakistan's national scene. Like always, let me first introduce my panelists. We have with us in the studios tonight on the Capital Connection, Mr. Fasiur Rahman Khan. He is a senior journalist and political commentator. Anika Nisar, she is a familiar face, anchor person currently associated with Capital TV. And last but not the least, we have with us Mr. Rana Kassar, who is also senior journalist and currently associated with state-run Pakistan Television. Many thanks to all of you joining us tonight on the Capital Connection. So the PTI government has completed its first 100 days in office. The jury is out whether the PTI government is successful in implementing its agenda for the first 100 days. But before we scrutinize the performance of the PTI government, we will begin our discussion with a historic development between Pakistan and India. Prime Minister Imran Khan today laid the foundation of a corridor which would allow the people of Sikh community from India to visit the shrine of Baba Guru Nanak in Kartarpur in Narwal district without visa. Prime Minister Imran Khan, while addressing the ceremony, once again called for reaching out to India and having improved relations with the neighboring country. He says that if India takes one step, Pakistan will take two. The big question is, will this historic development, as many people call it, lead to some kind of meaningful engagement between the two countries? So let me start with you, Mr. Fasiur Rahman. What do you think? How do you see this development? Because overall, relations between Pakistan and India are very tense, and even if we see the reaction from the Indian side, it is very lukewarm. Pakistan invited the Indian foreign minister. She didn't come because she said that she was busy because of preoccupation with election related activities. But on the other hand, we have seen a great ceremony here. Prime Minister was there, Chief Minister Punjab was there, the army chief was there. So how do you see this moment or this historic development?
I think Pakistan has gained significantly from this development, especially diplomatically and as well as I think in relation to India, and especially in wooing the Sikh diaspora in this region and worldwide also. But India has its own diplomatic compulsion. That's why they scaled it down. They didn't hype it. And that's why I think they didn't accept the high-level invitation to come here for Mr. Modi and the foreign minister also. I think before the formal culmination of 100 days of PTI government, which has been hyped to a great extent, I think this event has been organized in such a way that it favors the Imran Khan's leadership and PTI government, especially in the country as well as regionally.
So you brought a domestic context to this thing. We will talk about the government's 100-day performance as well, but let's focus on first this thing. How do you see this development, Anika? Because some people believe that this will create a goodwill among the Sikh community in Punjab, which they are in great numbers, and this is the kind of initiative that Pakistan should have taken earlier, because that would create a pro-peace and pro-Pakistan constituency in India.
See, I'll come to the point what Pakistan should have done, but it took us 71 years, both the countries, to actually travel this 4-kilometer distance. It took us a long time. What we as countries have been unable to understand is that it's not all war or all negativity. We need to create positivity in the midst of this negativity. And until or unless that happens, we cannot see peace in the region. One thing that Prime Minister Imran Khan said today is that, in this region, what the main cause of concern should be is the poverty, is the elimination of poverty that should be done. This is exactly what Narendra Modi, Mr. Prime Minister of India, had already said when he was fighting for the elections. He was contesting the elections. But that cause got lost. I don't know where. Mr. Modi said it at that time. He never actually pursued it later on. But I do believe that as far as what Pakistan should have done earlier, considering the conditions even right now, even today, 2 people were killed in Kashmir. Even today we are seeing that India is not stopping its ways, its negative ways. if Pakistan is showing some positivity, India should reciprocate it equally, or at least half the size. Like Mr. Imran Khan says that if India takes one step, we'll take two. But will India take that one step, even if it's a baby step? I don't think so. I don't see that happening. But Pakistan has gained diplomatic edge over India when it comes to Kartarpur. We will be able to show to the world that, see, we want peace in the region, we want stability in the region, we are up for talks, and it is India who's not reciprocating the same positivity.
Okay, do you agree with this, that Pakistan will gain diplomatically? That our Prime Minister and the Army Chief took this initiative, and in a way the Indian government was compelled to reciprocate that because they know the sentiment on their side of the border, because there were pressure on the Indian government as well from the Sikh community that that Pakistan has offered us olive branch and you should accept it. Do you think that Pakistan really played smart here and this will benefit Pakistan?
Yes, Kamran, Pakistan really outsmarted India on diplomatic front. But it takes two to tango. Pakistan's initiative has always been there for peace, for talks. But India always scuttled such moves. And now if we create hype that Pakistan and India would come to table for talks, I don't foresee. Reason being, at the oath-taking ceremony of Imran Khan as Prime Minister, Mr. Sidhu was here, and our Prime Minister Imran Khan said that he is willing to open this corridor, and our Army Chief also embraced Mr. Sidhu. And when he went back, there was reaction.
Created a lot of uproar.
Yes, uproar there, and they criticized vehemently Mr. Sidhu's gesture of coming to Pakistan and meeting our Army Chief and embracing him. It took them 3 months. Why did they do it? It is politically motivated. Probably in May next year they are going to have elections. And by opening this corridor and laying the foundation stone on their side of the border, they have tried to win the hearts and minds of the Sikh community for politically gaining out of it. Now, Pakistan's Prime Minister's message today was very clear, rather loud and clear, for peace, interfaith harmony, that if we want to alleviate poverty, we have to resolve all unsettled issues. And on top of all these issues is the issue of Kashmir, and this is he referred to also in his address to the ceremony. Now, for that you have to have engagement. I don't say that there is no engagement between India and Pakistan. It is at certain level, and you know it because you have a keen eye on diplomatic relations between India and Pakistan also. So I don't foresee, first of all, that India and Pakistan are going to break the deadlock. Secondly, Pakistan, as you said, rightly played the card and outsmarted India on diplomatic front. Now the ball is in the court of India. Now let's see, will Mr. Modi lose his political capital that he is trying to gain before 6 months before?
But Indian External Affairs Minister, even just hours before this ceremony, she said it clearly that this
is not possible
corridor,
yes.
Opening of corridor does not mean that we are re-engaging with Pakistan.
Yes.
So the message from India, even before Prime Minister's olive branch, is absolutely clear. So what Pakistan should do in that sense, because Prime Minister's speech otherwise was very positive, and he even didn't blame India. He said that if we really start blaming each other, then we can't move forward. So how government should approach this when you already getting a very negative response from Delhi?
I think along with this, and she has also said that I don't think that Prime Minister Modi will be attending this SAARC summit
yes.
in Islamabad. And I think this Kartarpur opening can be referred to as a CBM, as a new CBM between India and Pakistan. Both the countries need to do several of these CBMs, especially in terms of people-to-people contact. And as Rana Sahab has said, that okay, when we are going to have election in India in May next year, I don't think so the BJP government would be willing to take some big step towards peace or towards negotiations, towards formal talks with Pakistan. And also on the domestic front, Mr. Sidhu was in BJP. Last year he resigned. He joined Congress. Now he's a minister, and now he will be campaigning for Congress almost in this region in the north of India and such places. I think the politics is also at work here in India also, because as BJP they have not taken such a step, such an initiative. Sushma Swaraj has said today, even today, that this was being talked about for the last in the last 20 years.
In fact, she is taking the credit.
Yeah,
she said it was India's initiative. Now Pakistan
they proposed
responded.
it 13 years back. So I think the domestic compulsions, the political thing is also at play there, and BJP doesn't want Congress or its affiliates to take such a credit, or to be demonized for not doing enough to
so
coming close to Pakistan.
Politics is being played on both sides of the border.
Yeah,
and in fact, interestingly,
yeah.
Prime Minister Imran Khan offered Sidhu to contest election from Punjab,
And he can easily win.
He can easily win that, because the kind of the praise and the support that people giving him because of his pro-peace stance. We have to go for a break here, and after the break, of course, our discussion will continue. So stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection, and we are discussing, of course, the historic development between Pakistan and India regarding the opening of corridor in Kartarpur that would give the people of Sikh community visa-free access to their shrine of Baba Guru Nanak in Kartarpur. What is most significant is that Prime Minister Imran Khan yet again offered an olive branch to India to discuss all issues, including Kashmir. So again, Imran Khan said that if we remain in the history and remain, stuck with the past, we won't be able to move forward. He said that history is just to learn the lessons. So you can't, stay in the history. And he gave the example of even the rivalry between France and Germany. So do you think that we can really replicate that model as well? And do you think that leadership across India will really rise up to those political issues in consideration, and both countries will really make a serious attempt? We do understand that before the elections, everyone is saying that re-engagement is not possible, but after the elections, there is a real potential that two countries may re-engage.
Well, in a nutshell, I don't think we can replicate what happened between Germany and France. In India, the politics, the media thrives on anti-Pakistan sentiment. That wasn't the case in Germany and France. There are still each other sentiment over there, but the scenario over there and the scenario in Pakistan and India is that only Pakistan is the country that wants peace and friendship once again, because we've gone through a phase where there has been a turmoil in the country. We've gone through that. We don't want that anymore, and we do know there are proxies from other countries in Pakistan as well, and of course that might be reciprocated too. But India has an entirely different perspective to that. Their politics thrives on anti-Pakistan narrative, their media thrives on anti-Pakistan narrative. You'd see no media house in Pakistan having a motto that we are the India's headache or India's migraine or whatever. But we do see that in the Indian side, unfortunately. Changing that mindset would take a long time. They think that they still have a right over the Pakistani land, unfortunately. They have been unable to recognize that the reality is that Pakistan is a sovereign state, India is a sovereign state. We need to respect each other, and that is the relationship with which we need to thrive and with which we need to actually move forward. And the region can move forward only by that way. So I don't feel that in any time soon this would be materialized, but there's no harm in seeing a positive dream. There's no harm in actually pursuing a positive dream as well. If Pakistan has showed positivity time and again, there would be a time when India would have to actually give in and be positive too, because the world is seeing.
Okay, let me be devil's advocate here. We do know that India is not forthcoming and clearly refused many peace overtures in the recent past. The contention from the Indian side is that in the past, they really offered a hand of friendship. They cited the example of 1998 the way the former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee visited Pakistan, then the historic agreement. Even 2004, Atal Bihari Vajpayee came here, met with the then military ruler, and then we had a sustained engagement of dialogue process. Then Mumbai happened. So India says that many times they felt betrayed. They offered a hand of friendship, and every time Pakistan betrayed them. Do you think that there is any meat in their contention, and that's why they want, until and unless Pakistan stops so-called cross-border terrorism, there is no possibility of meaningful engagement with Pakistan?
I think India tries to hide behind all this, what it blames Pakistan for. Pakistan has been asking, or rather always has been asking India to share the evidence. Now, you know, as far as Mumbai attacks are concerned, Pakistan's position is that you share the evidence and we are ready to cooperate. And from Indian side, that level of cooperation has not been seen, and that has not been offered. Now, it is not just confined to this thing, Pakistan-India relationship, to only this region. Now, the international perspective is also there. Now, see, America's alliance with India has also its dynamics in this region. Now, India has always been cherishing the idea of becoming, the superpower of this region. Its hegemonic designs are there, and it has always been there. Like, you see, the way it has sabotaged the SARC process, as my friend Fasi was referring to also, that now Pakistan's Foreign Office has asked, they said yesterday that they are likely to invite, or positively to invite, Indian Prime Minister to this SARC summit if it happens really in Pakistan again, because it has to happen in Pakistan, because it was
because Pakistan is the current chair.
So you see, Pakistan's offers are there, Pakistan's intention is there, but India takes refuge behind all these allegations that Pakistan is not cooperating, or Pakistan is betraying the efforts for peace. Now, see what happened today. It was an epoch-making event today, that Pakistan opened up its border for the Sikh community. And it is a message not only to the Sikh community in India and Pakistan, or in this region, it is a message to the world at large that Pakistan believes in interfaith harmony. We should not get mired into the past. This is the message of our Prime Minister today. Past is past, let bygone be bygone. Now let's move forward. How we can move forward? Of course, there are concerns. The deficit, trust deficit is there. You have to bridge
So Prime Minister Imran Khan said all the right things. The question is that how do we move forward from here? One positive that India can take, that previously we had this impression that probably the PMLN government and the military establishment were not on the same page, and that's why the peace process could not move forward. Now there is a clear impression that everyone is on the same page on the Pakistani side. So don't you think that India should really take advantage? Because one of the concerns in the past India had, that the elected governments in Pakistan were not that powerful to take decisions, especially on India.
Let me first add one thing to that in the previous context. That why India is playing down this Kartarpur opening thing, it's playing down. One dimension, besides many minorities, India has the biggest minority as Muslims, then Sikhs and Christians. When this opening is done and the Sikh community is able to come to Pakistan easily and visit their holy shrines and places, I think pressure will be on India in the long term, in the short term too, that they should facilitate the Kashmiris also. That Kashmir issue, that Kashmir dimension, is frightening them, because they are putting them under their thumb. That is the worst oppression in this part of the world. So I think with this easing out of this thing and providing facilities to the Sikh community, India will also have this pressure to ease out that Kashmir thing, allow Kashmiris to come to Pakistan, and the Pakistani Kashmiris should visit the Indian Kashmir in the long run. And I think they are keeping that thing in mind also, that if they are very forthcoming and they are very if they hype this thing, they will be under pressure soon on this front too, on the Kashmir front too. But coming to back to your question, I think Pakistan has now this diplomatic edge that it can, pressurize India to, and the world community would also back us to that extent that it will say that India should also reciprocate. I think I mentioned that this is one of the biggest CBMs of the 2018. You can mention it as the biggest CBM, this Kartarpur opening. But I think for Pakistan, I think we should, put some pressure on India, worldwide also, on the international front also, that they should, we should have cricketing ties also. Pakistan, India cricket, and this opening of this cricket ties, I think this will help us a lot.
And I think during Musharraf regime, that was one of the main things, that people-to-people contacts, many confidence-building measures, and even the frequent exchanges between the leadership of both Kashmirs really helped normalize the situation, and that could be one way out of how to deal with and how to approach the complicated relations between Pakistan and India. We have to go for a break here, and after the break, now we will talk about the PTI government's performance in the first 100 days. So stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection. The PTI government has completed its first 100 days in office. The jury, of course, is out that whether it is successful in implementing its agenda for the first 100 days. And of course, Anika, people say that 100 days are not enough for any government to show performance. But why we are actually scrutinizing the PTI government's performance? Because it is the PTI that gave us this 100-day agenda, and that's why we are debating. First of all, let's talk about the positives. Where do you think that the PTI government has really done some positives in the first 100 days?
Firstly, I'd like to add that there's no doubt about that 100 days aren't enough to judge any government for whatever they do. They just can give a direction towards what they're going to do, but they can't really do something, substantial on ground in practicality. But at the same time, I think PTI government at that time, PTI party got a bit too overambitious, giving a 100-day time and saying that we will fulfill all these. If you read the entire agenda, it is quite extensive. It's not possible to complete it in 100 days. There's no doubt about that. But setting the agenda and setting the direction was the basic purpose and was the basic challenge for the PTI government.
Did you find any direction?
I think in a few of the fields there are, but it's not entire. You can't say they achieved it 100%. I don't see achievement in the housing sector, although Mr. Anil Musarrat has been, talked to, and things are under discussion. But how exactly are you going to fulfill that commitment? That is entirely different. Theme 6 of the 100-day agenda is national security. And in that, I've heard that Ms. Shiri Mazari was the actual author of that theme. And now the foreign minister is Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi, and he doesn't agree to what Ms. Shiri Mazari had written. So there's that clash as well. And the inside information is...
So they are still sorting out many issues internally before actually they implement that.
I think implementation...
So let's take the discussion forward. As Anika pointed out, that 100-day plan that I have with me, it's quite an elaborate plan, and nobody can really think that in a country like Pakistan you can implement all these things. But this question was repeatedly asked to Mr. Imran Khan before he became a Prime Minister. He was absolutely certain that we will certainly do that. Now they have completed their 100 days. How do you see their performance? Do you think that they have really performed, or do you think that they really failed to live up to the expectations of the people?
I agree with Anika in a way that when Mr. Imran Khan was campaigning for his election, he said that he will give an agenda which will be fulfilled or completed within first 100 days. Now, he had never been in government or in the hot seat. He did not perhaps realize that the issues are so huge, so big, so problematic. When he was in the seat, he must have realized that it's so difficult to come up to the expectations of the people within first 100. But as I said, that I agree with Anika, is that at least the first priority had to be, and it is, that to put the house in order. the culture of work has to be changed, and they are trying to change, and I know it for the fact as an information. As far as the agenda given to or the tasks given to the ministries, for example, the other day, maybe a fortnight before, the law minister announced in his video message that the task that he was given on legislative front he had completed. I mean, the Whistleblowing Act and the Justice Authority and the legislation for women and children, blah blah. These
Although
things.
it is another matter that they haven't brought a single piece of legislation.
Well, that is a
in the
parliamentary
parliament.
issue. Yes, they will
For
have
3
to.
months,
Yeah.
they haven't yet constituted any parliamentary committee
also,
which is of course the
and Public Accounts Committee chairman also has to be appointed. Now, see, another thing. Yesterday, Mr. Shafqat Mahmood, the Education Minister, has given up the framework for education in this country. I think things are moving forward. You see, first of all, it was very difficult to assess the issues within first 100 days. Now they are doing it. They did not have the homework very clearly. They did not do
I think
anything.
nobody would have been, even we would have
Yes.
been talking about,
But
had
still-
had they not given us this plan. That's the real issue, because they said it very confidently. that
Confidently,
we will
but
implement
it was an idealist thing.
Okay,
But
let's take the discussion forward and talk about some specifics. Of course, that this 100-day plan have 6 themes, and one of the priorities of the government, this PTI, is to transform the governance. And of course, that we know that their first agenda was to bring accountability to the center of government. And on that, they said that they will ensure full autonomy to the National Accountability Bureau, and they will also establish a special task force to bring back the looted money. On that front, except the autonomy of the NAB, they did establish a task force, and Mr. Shahzad Akbar did work on at least identifying where the foreign assets of Pakistanis are located, how many fake accounts or accounts are there of the Pakistanis. Do you think that at least that they have attempted to do something different from the previous government?
I think tomorrow when Imran Khan is the Prime Minister, he stands up and faces the nation and explains this 100 days. It will be a very difficult task for him. Odds are against him. I think on the governance front, you take the governance thing. I think they relied on some superficial things, some symbolic things like austerity, like
selling buffaloes,
yeah,
that you're talking
buffaloes,
about.
and the Prime Minister won't live.
No, but you give them the credit.
Prime
They
Minister
have auctioned
yeah,
dozens of vehicles that were
buffaloes also.
early and they used
Yeah.
of
That's
the
a
Prime
crime.
Minister office.
Prime Minister won't live in the Prime Minister house. He will use the Prime Minister house the whole day, and he won't live in the 2 rooms or 3 rooms earmarked for the Prime Minister's bedrooms. So I think that are artificial, superficial steps. They tried to hype that. They tried to
No, but in a
take
country like
political advantage
Pakistan,
of.
don't you think that such optics really matter?
Yes.
When your
No,
country
but-
is
but-
so poor,
you
and your leaders on the taxpayers' money enjoy that luxury, that will send a wrong message.
It
At least
didn't have the shelf value. Coming back to the governance thing, Imran said and PTI promised that they will have reforms in the bureaucratic system. They will have reforms in the police. What happened to the police? The police commission that was headed by Mr. Durrani, he resigned. And the way they handled the police and bureaucracy also till this day, when Imran said that there will be no political interference in the bureaucracy. So that didn't happen. They have tasked many task forces for various things, and Imran will come out tomorrow and say that okay, we have received so much of recommendations from such and such task forces, including Mr. Shahzad Akbar's task force. But what happened to the $200 billion thing that has been nullified by the finance minister also? I think that was too optimistic.
But again, on that issue, probably Prime Minister Imran Khan would have justification. He already talked about, explained that why a leader should take a U-turn, because he believes that this is the hallmark of a leader when, if he takes decision according to the situation. So he talks about the governance. You brought about the issue of merit and bringing reforms in bureaucracy and in police. And this, in fact, is their third point, depoliticizing and strengthening police. But what happened, in Pakpatan in IG Punjab police case and even Islamabad IG police case, it was exactly opposite to what Prime Minister Imran Khan used to say before the elections.
Firstly, I'd like to add over here that I'm glad at least after 100 days we did not get to hear from any PTI member that, oh, it was just a political statement, not a big deal, just for the elections, the way we've been hearing from the rest of the parties after they win and come into power. I'm glad we didn't get to hear that. There would be accountability because they're not denying what they said. They're just telling us that we were unable to achieve it because there were other challenges. The house had to be in order, as mentioned earlier. But when it comes to specifically talking about what you asked right now, I personally believe that PTI government and PTI's top leadership still believes in depoliticizing the institutions, but I think the trickle-down effect hasn't taken place as yet. The mindset of all the politicians that are in power as well, that do have certain positions as well, that hasn't changed. And to change that political mindset, steps within PTI have to be taken too. Mr. Khan said that he will see for 3 months which minister is actually performing and which minister is not performing. We are looking forward to what Mr. Khan would do now. Would he actually kick out the people who tried to exercise their power?
And there are reports that they are trying to introduce a ranking system. They would, rank the ministers that how much they performed, and probably they will have a meeting of the federal cabinet tomorrow to review that.
A couple of people being kicked out for these certain reasons, for trying to exercise their authority over.
Okay, we will talk about that because probably you are giving us the news that maybe a couple of people may be kicked out from the federal cabinet. We will continue our discussion, but we have to go for a break here, so stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection, and we are, of course, analyzing the performance of PTI government in the first 100 days. Before I ask Rana Kaisar the next question, before the break, you were just hinting us that there may be a couple of ministers kicked out from the federal cabinet. Is it just your guesswork, or you have the information?
You see, there has been certain news that's going around in the power corridors, and what I have heard through sources is that Khan Saab, Mr. Prime Minister, is not happy with the performance of a few ministers. Kicking out would be too harsh, I'm sure, but they would be given certain, they would be told that they would be told that you need to perform better on the following fronts, and if you don't, then you will have to leave your seat. And those ministers know that as well. They do know that who they are and who might be asked to get aside.
Mr. Rana Kaisar is also well informed. Do you see anything? Because one thing we do know that Prime Minister Imran Khan used to say that unlike the previous administration, his government would certainly hold everyone accountable, and even and that accountability process would start from the government and the ministers.
As you earlier said, rather hinted that optics do matter. Now, if we go for optics, then I would foresee that he might show the door to some of his cabinet members. But I don't think that he will do it, because he will certainly give them a chance. Because the issues are so confused and so huge that it may not be possible for some of the ministers or a large number of ministers to deliver within the stipulated time of 100 days. If they really come up with some framework, some policy document regarding their ministries, that how would they improve the working of the ministry and the trickle-down effect is seen, then I think maybe another 30 days the Prime Minister may give this cushion to the ministers. But if as far as the optics is concerned, maybe the door is shown to some of them. Then now you see, analyzing and scrutinizing the performance of a government, you see, we have to be a little considerate in a way that, of course, the election time slogans and rhetorics are not realistic. they are just for the sake of elections and just criticizing their opponents or the incumbents who were the incumbents. Now you see, coming into the government and coming into power is a different thing, a different ball game altogether.
And probably that was the reason Prime Minister Imran Khan justified taking U-turns.
U-turns. Now see, the term U-turn is most profane term, I would say. You see, now if I say, okay, I take this decision and I have taken this decision, and after some time I think that no, there are certain other things that I have also to consider them. So if I change my direction or change my decision or add something into that, I think it's not negative.
Yes, you can call it adding value as well,
value.
or you can call it a U-turn.
To that extent,
but there is another perspective. Soon after he made that statement justifying, taking U-turn on some of the decisions, his followers, many of his ministers came up with very interesting arguments defending their leader. But here some people say this is our problem, sycophancy, because when you are to improve, you should have people around you who can also criticize your leadership. Do you think that again that we saw in the case of People's Party and the PMLN, here again in the PTI there is a cult following. Whatever Imran Khan says, good or bad, even if you accept it from your heart or not, you will certainly say Imran Khan is saying the right thing.
For PTI and for Prime Minister Imran Khan, I think the sooner he puts the house in order, the better for him, and for the long run also. I don't think so that he will be able to roll out.
What do you mean by putting the house in order?
Because he has not.
You don't think that everything under his control at the moment?
No, but in the circumstances, in the pre-election circumstances, he has been gifted or doled out a number of independents, candidates, South Punjab thing, the Mahas, and such people who were gathered for him to secure a simple majority, for that purpose. Now, he was able to secure a simple majority by a majority of 4 votes. I think so. He doesn't have that leverage to do experiments to assert that much, even though he is a single leader of his party and the whole thing, the government and the party revolves around him. But
so
even
you can't blame him if he's not taking
he has
some
not been
decisions.
able to put up a good team of ministers, of doers, and the thing that he won't be able to retrench or send some people home because of that thin majority thing. And if that cabinet reshuffle or the change of portfolio that comes, I think it will be more of a cabinet reshuffle of the portfolios also. Like we are hearing about the information minister, he might be, his ministry might be changed. And I'll give you, a good story that I learned
on good authority. Minister's performance is not up to the mark.
I've learned
because
on
he's
good
the
authority
one who is giving tough time to the opposition, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate, and defending day in and day out, Prime Minister Imran Khan.
Can I add in?
Yeah, please.
I don't think the job of the information minister is to give a tough time to the opposition. The job of the information minister is not to spread disinformation. His job is to give information to the public.
But this is PTI's policy, because they think that whatever problems Pakistan is today facing is because of corrupt practices of the previous government, and that's exactly that they are doing. And many people say that actually Imran Khan likes such people who really take aggressive approach towards opposition.
Aggression is something entirely different, and being entirely abusive is entirely different. That is what
the information minister. Do you think that any minister or information minister can adopt this approach without the approval of Prime Minister Imran Khan? Because you can, give the benefit of doubt if once in a blue moon he made that statement.
Do you think that can go on for 5 years?
He is repeatedly saying these things.
Do you think it can go on for 5 years? Do you think the PTI or Khan Sahab wouldn't have to change his policy if that is their policy? Do you think so?
No, I'm saying that do you think that he is doing on his own, or he has the backing of Prime Minister Imran Khan?
I think he has gone too far, the information minister. And take the example of another minister, another high profile thing, another ally, Sheikh Rashid Ahmed. I can tell you on authority that till date he has resigned on 2 occasions.
Sheikh Rashid.
In the last 3 months, I'm telling you.
Why?
Because he is not happy with his ministries. He is not happy the way he is being handled by the bureaucracy at the Prime Minister's Secretariat. So he has many things, unsettled things in the ministry.
So these are the same problems that we used to hear during Nawaz Sharif's term, because bureaucracy, even sitting at the Prime Minister House, never cooperated with the ministers and all that.
You have to have the bureaucratic reforms in the long term, in the short term also, and PTI has to come true to its promise that, okay, we should have no political interference in the bureaucracy, and it has to function as per its constitutional role also. So I think they should deliver on that front. Prime Minister should focus on telling the bureaucracy that you do your work according to the
we are running out of time. Just 1 minute. Quick comments both from Anika and Mr. Rana Kaisar. Honeymoon period, if you really call it, is over now. How do you think that, because Prime Minister Imran Khan said that now he will give the real roadmap to reform the country economically, socially and politically. Do you really expect some big announcements tomorrow when he addressed that function?
I don't think any big announcement is coming tomorrow, but I do see it in a month's time or 2 months' time, because the big announcement that had to be done for the 100-day plan unveiling or whatever you call what is happening tomorrow, what is going to happen tomorrow, they've already happened. Kartarpur has happened, Clean and Green Pakistan has happened. So they do have a few things to show, but they don't have anything substantial at the same time. I think now is the time that Prime Minister Khan needs to understand and needs to implement the thing that he used to repetitively say, that when a leader is good, the team automatically acts accordingly.
Very quick comment before we conclude.
Well, I think a lot has been seen and done by the government on diplomatic front. We see an event today also. Then the relations with India, relations with the United States, China, Russia, Gulf countries, we have seen that a lot of activity has taken place. On economic front, that too. The IMF thing is there. You see, Pakistan government is not, I think, ready to accept all the conditions, the strings attached to the bailout package to accept it. As far as our security situation is, I think that is quite under control now. Now the issue,
except the recent couple of incidents, that
see,
also sends
they
us
keep happening. You see,
a reminder that
yes, the war is still not over.
Yes,
and the important issue is that how far the people have been able to receive the trickle down effect. Now that effect has to be received at the lowest level also.
That is the most important point. Whether you open a Kartarpur corridor or not, whether you improve relations with India, whether you have more, aggressive tone towards.
What matters is how much prices of
how the life of a common man will improve under
how much you have associated.
And I think that will determine the fate.
How much you have associated.
We have to conclude our discussion because many thanks indeed, Mr. Fasiur Rahman Khan, Anika Nisar, and Mr. Rana Kaisar. That's it from this edition of Capital Connection. Thanks for watching.